Hello, this is Wizdom To Win Podcast, where we pull back the layers to reveal the knowledge, strategies, and insights that empower you to succeed. I'm Ray J. Johnson, your host. In each episode, we'll dive into life's biggest questions around health, wealth, relationships, and personal growth for the 50 and older crowd. So sit back, relax, and let's get ready with Wizdom to Win. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Wizdom To Win Podcast. I am your host, your girl, Ray J. Johnson. And today, I have someone with me that is like, I don't know, certified in everything in life. I promise you she is. She is Jeanne Muhammad, owner of Freedom to Live LLC. And Jeanne is certified. And the reason why I say everything in life, because she is certified as a life and happiness coach, a certified assertiveness and confidence coach, a certified holistic wellness coach, and a certified self-care coach. Now, she also has a degree in psychology. So you see how all of that lines up, right? She's a co-host of the podcast, I Am the Data. I feel like that deserves a snap. I Am the Data on YouTube and other streaming services. She's also the author of not one, not two, not three, but 12 books, like a dozen, right? Her book, that is her signature book, is Take Back Your Pen, P-E-N, pen, how to rewrite your life story. I'm interested in that one for sure. She's also an advocate against domestic violence and is a speaker on the Domestic Violence Speaker Bureau in a county. Is this Mecklenburg County? Mecklenburg County in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as a member of the Domestic Violence Research Collaborative Committee. We're going to talk a little bit about that. She also supports Safe Alliance, which is a resource for victims of domestic violence. And on top of all of that, as if you could add more to this woman's plate, she is wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. I don't see the great-grandmother age. I don't hardly see the grandmother age. I don't know. But listen, to introduce to some of you and present to most of you, I give you Jeanne Muhammad.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Ray J.
Hey, this is how we welcome people to the Wizdom To Win podcast. Okay, this is how I do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am so thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you so much. So listen, my first question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me, I kind of want you to break down what the various coaching aspects are for our audience. Life and happiness coach. What is that about?
That's very basic. That starts with the basic of life, because a lot of my clients, they come to me and they just really don't know where to start. In what, they realize that there may be something missing in their life, but they just don't know where to start. So I give them like a go through sometimes training with them, pointing them in different directions. I always say a coach is just someone that offers suggestions. I can offer suggestions to people, but the real work is with that person has to do the real work. They're the ones that determine whether they're a success or not me.
Right.
I can just, so with life and happiness, I give direction.
Okay. All right. Now, the assertiveness coach, how does that figure into it? And is it different from life and happiness?
No, all of my certifications really overlap.
Okay.
Because in life, sometimes it takes us to be assertive in what we desire. It takes confidence. And that may be what some people are lacking in their lives, is just they know what they want to do, and they may even have a blueprint of everything written out, but they're just not confident and know how to be assertive in achieving what they want. So it overlaps, and then the holistic wellness coaching, everything is mind, body, and soul. It's all together. We cannot separate one from the other,
Right.
you know. So and until we can get our mindset together, sometimes that will determine our success in other areas of our lives. And so it's a holistic approach to just everything in our lives. When you look at it, if you are sick physically,
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of that could have to do with possibly what's going on in your mind or what's going on spiritually with you. So it's all connected. It's all connected to everything in our lives. You know, what's going on in our mind, our body, our soul. And until we can come in balance and balance out what's happening inward, because all of it is inward. What I deal with taking care of that inward man.
Right. Right. You know, it brings to mind this saying that I've heard. Now, I might be messing it up, y'all. So forgive me. But when you were saying that, if you have a health issue, that some of that, because I talked to someone else before about stress. We did an episode where we said that stress can make a lot of things really manifest into illness, especially if it's diabetes, things of that nature, weight gain, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
losing the hair. And then they put these scientific names to it, like, alopecia, right?
Right,
Or type 2 diabetes, or
right,
some other kind of something that they'll give it to it, some type of inflammatory response to stress.
right.
And when you said, when we talked briefly about the holistic and how everything overlaps, it reminded me of this saying: if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So it's a part of that. And now that gives a different spin. My lens is a little bit different with that saying, because if you don't mind, it doesn't matter, because
That's
he's
right.
going to do his own thing. So you really do have to have a mindset on something productive,
Right.
positive, because being happy, Stormy Wellington, I don't know if you're familiar with Coach Stormy Wellington, but one of the things that she often says in her community of Girl Hold My Hand, that was a plug, Stormy. That was a plug. Uh,
I'm writing her name down, so because I always go and start Googling it.
yep, yep. That was a little plug. But she says being happy is a strategy. And I think people sometimes think that you are just happy, like it's just an automatic kind of human thing to happen. But you make a choice on being happy, because strategies are well thought out choices and systems. And
That's right.
that's exactly what you do, is help to orchestrate that
That's right.
system for that person to make a decision, because you can make choices and keep changing your mind. But when a person is hard, fast, set on a decision, there's no ifs, ands, buts, no negotiations about it. That's my decision. I'm sticking to it, kind of thing. And
Right.
I think that, what I've heard you saying in summary is that that's what you do. You kind of GPS people into making decisions that they really just wanted permission to make. You know what I'm
You
saying? It's
just
sometimes don't
right.
don't you don't you feel like sometimes we feel like we got to get somebody's permission?
Right. We want all of our everything validated by others before we can sometimes say that this is the right way to go.
Right.
We want that validation. And when you were talking about the mind, one thing my mom would always say is nothing beats a made up mind.
Oh.
You know, she would always say that nothing beats a made up mind. And when you talk about having a made up mind and you really have a desire for something,
Mm-hmm.
if you have you build up your will, you know, and that is all starts, it's in the mind, your will. That is what feeds your desire, that made up mind. And so yeah, nothing and that is it, Ray J. I just kind of nudge people on to where they already know they should be. Most of us or most people, they already know,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, they just need that validation.
Right. And I don't know why we feel like someone outside of us has to validate a decision. Is it because we're afraid of being wrong or being judged or being not as smart as we think the next person is? What do you say? What in your
It's
opinion?
all of that. It's all of that,
It's all
Ray
of
J.
that.
It's all of that because each person is different. Each person is unique that you come across. And sometimes we have a tendency to lump everybody into one category, but all of us is a sum total of our experiences in our lives. And none of our experiences are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may have gone through abuse, but your abuse in some way is different from my abuse.
Exactly.
It's
But trauma is trauma, right, Jeannie?
right. Trauma is trauma.
Right.
It just
So
may have manifested in a different
in a
way
different way.
in your life than it manifests. And in fact, the degree of trauma that a person is encountering has to do with um, their experiences, you know, because the same, you may go through something and it may not affect you as strongly as it affected me.
True.
You know, it may not, um, or depending on how you view life's happenings, it may not have me stuck in a certain position the way it has someone else stuck.
And I get that, Jeannie, because it's a whole thing of being paralyzed in the moment, right?
Right,
I could move differently in that same moment based on my past, whether I have had the buildup of how to manipulate a situation or I have no clue as to
right,
what to do in that situation.
right,
And when it comes to women that am here for, this podcast is to help women who are 50 plus that are either going through divorce or have gone through divorce to learn how to navigate those new chapters in life. And it's not that you're prepared ever for a divorce, but there are other steps and strategies that you may not realize that you were taught either intentionally or happened upon within your life that prepared you and you had no idea, or that may not have prepared you and you have no idea until you're in that situation. And so I think that that is the difference between how one may accept the same, it could be the same trauma, but it's looked at in varying degrees and it's received in various ways from that person. Like, for example, let's say you and I could be walking down the street having a conversation and this dog jumps out. Now, if I haven't had a negative experience with some type of animal, doesn't even have to be a dog, could have just been some kind of animal.
Mm-hmm.
then I may go, ooh, but I'm reacting a little bit different, like just be still, calm down. Whereas you have received such trauma behind the time the cat scratched you, okay?
Yeah.
That you're in panic attack mode, and you're just sitting up here hyperventilating and screaming and trying to figure out which way to go, and the dog is steady reacting to really your energy more so
Right.
than my energy, because we're experiencing the same event, but the trauma is so different.
Right.
Yes,
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. That yeah, and all of us at some point, well, I say most people have experienced some kind of trauma in their lives.
yes, I agree.
And but the determining factor, I think, just as you said, because I look back on my life and the trauma I've been through, divorce and uh, abuse and alcohol and drug abuse. And I look back on it all and I realized that my mother really instilled a lot of, because backbone in her children,
Okay.
because she went through a lot of abuse and trauma in her life. And she was an example of a survivor in
Mm-hmm.
spite of.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always say, and I'm always quoting my mother because I realized what a wise person she was. Uh, in hindsight, I look back, and she would always say, what God has done for me, He will do for you. And so it instilled something in me to realize that, okay, I'm not going to let this break me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let this, because what God did for my mother
Mm-hmm.
and what God did for other women that I see that have been through the same things, the divorce, the trauma and all, they didn't break. They didn't let it destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm capable of coming up out of this because the same thing and the same way that God led them up out of that, He can do the same thing for me.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we have to understand, Jeannie, that just because you're bending didn't mean that you are broken. Just meant that life is just bending you a little bit.
Yes, that's
You-
right.
But you
You are bending
you're
because
bending.
it, yes, you're just bending because, like you said, you're right, because when you're broken, sometimes the pieces are shattered so much that it cannot be put back together, and there are
Not by
people like,
man.
huh?
Not by man. It cannot be
You're
put back
right.
together. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's
Because it's a
right.
spirit thing. It's spiritual. So,
Yes, ma'am.
and we're not preachy or anything like this, but we just kind of want people to know that energy is is within a spirit realm. It really is. And what
And
you
energy is
it's
everything.
everything. And it depends on where you're leaning or where you bend into, right? That energy at in your life. And it may take someone else to help bring you back, which is what Jeanne Muhammad does. Let me just take a break real quick and say I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Wisdom to Win podcast. And if you want Jeannie's services, they're going to be listed in the description box below on how to connect with her through all of her links. And if you need coaching within this whole divorce situation that you might be in, I am also available as an accountability coach to hold you accountable to those things, those goals, those life events, that purpose that you say you want. I'm here to help you obtain those things. But let's go ahead and get back to the podcast. I want to kind of take a turn and ask you a question, Jeannie, about blogging and podcasting. Why are you doing those two? What is it within your coaching that you feel like the blogging and the podcast is a good marriage with those other things that you're already doing?
Because some people may not read, or some people may not reach out to a coach or a therapist, or uh, someone that might be able to help them on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
But they may hear something on a podcast that will spark something in them, or
Okay.
they may read something that will spark something in them. That, like earlier, I was saying that not we are all unique. So not everybody is going to avail themselves of a coach. And so I just try to reach people wherever they are. And so I just use all the avenues that are available to me to try to, reach different segments uh, of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
because I realize also that by podcasting, I may be able to reach someone way across the ocean,
It's
that
global.
yes,
Yeah.
it's global. And in fact, that's one of my one thing that I say, that I am global and I am international, because I service people all over the world. And so they may not be able to uh personally come and be in my presence. I wanted to go back to something that you said,
Yes.
and I'm so happy that you said it, and that's about being broken,
Yes.
because we are what we say we are.
Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so if you want to speak life into yourself, uh, we have to be careful about the words that we say.
Yes.
And so I thank you for saying that, because there is a difference. So thank you.
Oh, you are most welcome. And you're absolutely right. You know, Myron Golden says that we have bought into what he calls our identity, the lies that we have been told going through life that others have put on us. For example, you're just like this or that person in a negative way. And we accept that identity. That is not our identity. That is not who we really are. That is something that someone has placed upon us as a lie that we have accepted. And, you know, when he said that word identity versus identity, it really hit differently, because I think we all have bought into that, you know, and I think that's where that you're not enough, or even you're too much. You know how you just too much. You're extra. And I think you should buy into that. Yes, I am. I am too much and I am extra. Yes, that's right. I'm so glad you recognize that. See, when you can take something and turn it around for the betterment of who you are, and not just sit there and let people dump on you what they say you are, then they have nowhere to go with that. Where are they going with that? Nowhere. You know,
That's right.
they just they can't. There's nothing to respond to that.
That's right.
It's a power move, I think, and you maintain
Yes,
your
ma'am.
power when you say yes, I am.
That's right. And this takes me to my book, How to Take Back Your Pen.
Yes,
Virtually, that is what it's saying, that your story, the story that you're living, it's a way to look at, is this my story, or is it a story that someone gave to me?
you see, and I accepted it.
And I accepted it. So it's a workbook that I take people through, asking certain questions and having them look at certain things, to really look at their life, do a self-examination,
Mm-hmm.
and then a self-analysis, to really look at the life that I'm living, is this life the one that I want to live? Or do I need to take back my pen and rewrite my life story and rewrite it in what I want, what I desire, how I see myself, what, where I want to be. So that's exactly what how Take Back Your Pen, how to rewrite your life story is
I
about.
love that. And I'm so glad that that easily transitioned right into your book, because I always like to ask people the business name, where did that come from? The how did you title your book that? So that is a very interesting way to look at it, because it is true and it resonates, I think, with a lot of people. As we're talking about before, the trauma, you're into domestic violence advocacy. And so
Mm.
before we get out of here, I would like to acknowledge that you serve on this committee, this collaborative effort to
Mhm.
end or eradicate domestic violence. Tell us a little bit about how that worked for you. Why did you come into domestic violence? How did that happen?
Well, that was what gave me my purpose in life, really, going through domestic violence. My earliest memory, and this is in How to Rewrite Your Life Story. My earliest memory at about 3 years old was my father beating my mother
And
and her
three?
screaming. And I was three
You
years
were
old.
three and you remember that?
I remember that. That's my
Wow.
earliest memory.
Wow.
And so that went on throughout my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took that baggage with me into my relationships, and I was in and out of the abusive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and that in order to mask the pain, I started using drugs and alcohol, and so when I decided to take back my pen, you know, and to rewrite my life story, I had to look at all of that, and I determined that I wanted to use my pain and what had happened to me to be able to help other women, because sometimes the way is so dark, you
Mm-hmm.
don't even think that you're going to survive through those experiences, but it's possible to not only be a survivor, but a thriver,
Mm-hmm.
to thrive. And that gave me, really, I always say it was a blessing
Yes.
to be able to go through that experience, all of those experiences, because it gave me my purpose, it gave me my mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh I once I decided that I was not going to be ashamed anymore about where I came from and my experiences in life. And so I just have become an open book
And I think
about.
people really do need to understand that even though you may have experienced some dark days, there's still a silver lining in there somewhere. You have just got to
Yes,
discover what that is. And a lot of times that is your purpose. You know, I asked you this question. If this was a master class, what would you name it? And you said that you would name it, It Is Never Too Late. What did you
that's
mean by
right.
that?
I started really understanding my purpose when I was 65.
When you were 65, you're 60.
When I
You don't look like you passed 60, let alone when you
I,
were
I
65.
I'm almost 80. I'm closer to 80 than.
Did you all hear that? Did you hear? Oh my gosh, you look fantastic. You definitely are the picture of you don't look like what you've been through.
I say that all the time, Ray J. I said, if I looked like what I have been through, I would look at least like 200 or 300, just, but I thank God for that, because I know that it's because I accepted that was those things that happened to me, all
Mm-hmm.
that I went through, I have come to see, and I've forgiven all of the people that the not that I would want to be around those abusers or have them
Yes.
in my life, but
Yes.
I have forgiven them because I always understand that there's a reason they were the way they were. I
Mm.
don't know why they just were, I don't know what in their life they experienced that they hurt people.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And so those people that hurt me, I have forgiven them. I can honestly say there is nobody that I can think of that I'm harboring any kind of animosity or hate or anything. I've let it go. I've forgiven my father. I forgave my father. And you said something. See, I flipped all of it. I flipped it. I
Yes.
flipped all the negative and found the positive in it all.
Yes. Yes. There is an opposite for everything. When
Yes,
you say there's a good, there's a bad.
that's
Okay, if
right.
you're in the bad, where's the good? Find it
Where's the
because it is
good?
there.
Find it.
Yes.
Find it.
Yes. Yes. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. We could continue forever. I know we could because there's so many things that we want to talk to you about. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for your time, so much for sharing your transparency with us. Gotta get the book. The people
Yes.
have got to get the book. Tell us about
Yes.
the book one more time and where can the book be purchased?
Oh, it's Take Back Your Pen. That's my signature book. That's the first book that I wrote. Take Back Your Pen, How to Rewrite Your Life Story. And it can be purchased from my website. It's IAmJeanneM.com. IAmJeannem.com. And all of my books can be purchased there. And you can make an appointments for any of my coaching services. If you Google Jeanne Muhammad, all of my social media is under Jeanne Muhammad, so it all comes up if you Google Jeanne Muhammad.
Okay, well, we're going to make it really simple for everyone. Make sure that we put your links in the description box below so that people can reach out to you. And we just really appreciate the service. Let me say this. Thank you for your service because you are definitely a servant
Thank you.
leader and serve from the heart. This, you guys, has been a wonderful episode. I have just been thrilled to learn so much from Jeanne Muhammad. Make sure that
Thank
you
you.
like and share and subscribe to the Wisdom to Win podcast channel. And you know how I usually do this is I say I love you to life and on purpose. But this time I want to say love yourself to life. Walk in your purpose. And I'll see you on the other side in the next episode. Until then, bye for now. Yo.